My name is Shakina Simone, and today I will be sharing some interviewing tips. First and foremost, I would advise you to do as much research as you can. Yes, that is very cliche advice. However, I'm speaking from personal experience. Even if you are a strong interviewer where you're able to just come up with topics or answer a question relatively easily and things like that, you never know how detailed the interviewer will get. Some people keep it very informal, rather general questions and things like that, and others are into the nitty gritty of the role. One example I can think about was for my Wilderness Explorer internship at Disney. I knew about communication, I had worked on teams prior, so I just told myself, okay, I have a biology background, I pretty much know about conservation work and things like that. I know what it's like to work on a team. So any question that they throw at me, I can answer no problem. So I won't do any prep for this interview. And whenever I tell you that was the worst interview I ever had in my life, because the interviewer asked detailed questions such as, oh, what was your favorite badge that you learned about? Why is that your favorite badge? What's like an example of a lesson that you'd give explorers? Different things like that where I had no idea. So thankfully she passed me along. I ended up getting that internship, but based on that phone interview, it was not looking very good. And that's because I didn't do what I need to do beforehand. So try not to be too cocky going into it. So whenever I say gather information, yes, you can look on sites such as LinkedIn. You can Google things about the company that you want to work for. The company website is a good thing. Usually, whenever I prepare for interviews, I look at the company website well in advance, and again just before, like about 20 minutes before the interview, just to brush up on like the mission statement, on the goals, different things that the company has accomplished, and whatever else, so that you can really give a personalized interview and really attest as to why you're a good fit and how you can improve based on a company's current trajectory. So I would start off by doing that, and if you can, I would reach out to people who work in the company. Very much easier said than done. It's kind of hard to like just cold email people because they won't always respond, but you never know until you try. Again, a good resource for that would be LinkedIn and any personal connections that you can get. One thing a friend taught me was that people love to talk about themselves. So if you're ever hesitant about reaching out to someone to ask about a role or what a job entails, don't be. If you start off with saying like, hey, I'd love to learn more about the work that you do or the goals that you accomplish and things like that, making it seem like you're actually like very interested in what that individual has to do, whether they're in the role that you want or just someone in the company that can help connect you to people who are in the role that you want, it's still a good start and it's still a good thing. And I speak about in one of my other videos about not being transactional. So there's a way to do it without seeming like, oh, I'm just going to use you for this and then just like forget about you. So definitely don't view people as dollar signs. But yes, take advantage of actual humans who work in a company and try to gain as much knowledge as you can from them. I just find social media in general great for that. Connecting with people, whether it be DM or emailing, asking them to meet up with you, whether virtually or in person, or just posing your questions right then and there, to get better insight into work culture and what the job actually entails and things like that. So in general, whenever you're interviewing, you always want to be confident. Even if you are really nervous, even if you're really nervous, regardless of whether you feel like you're a shoo-in for the job or if like you'd be lucky to even be seriously considered, go in as if you already have that position that you want. People love confidence. It's palpable whenever you are confident, and vice versa. Whenever you're very nervous, the interviewer can sense that and they can tell. So just be very self-assured. And let's say that you're asked an open-ended question that you either one, don't have experience with, or two, just truly don't know how to answer. Kind of answer in a hypothetical way. For example, let's say that I'm an arborist or something, and someone asks like, oh, what species of tree would work best in this temperate climate or something like that. Side note, I'm not an arborist, I'm just using this as an example. Let's say I'm not well versed in that environment, or like I'm not sure how that goes. I would say I'd take my best guess And an example of what I do is, so even though I personally haven't really worked with that species of tree or in that climate, based on my knowledge, I know that this species that I have worked with works well in this climate. And so like kind of extrapolating those findings from that to this can help. Sometimes interviewers ask you hard questions on purpose just to see how you will respond to under stress or to hard questions, because you will not know the answer to everything. So don't let a question that kind of trips you up kind of like make you think like, oh man, I'm not going to get the position just because I couldn't answer this. Sometimes that's how it's designed. They really want you to think on your feet, and they want you to be honest. Interviewers can definitely tell whenever you don't have experience with what you're talking about, or if you don't know what you're talking about. So you want to be confident, you want to be yourself, but at the same time you want to be like honest, right? So maybe prefacing that and that question with, I'm not sure, however, if I were tasked with dealing with this situation, this is what I do based on my previous experiences and things like that, which is helpful in general whenever you are interviewing for roles, that you have real world experience, because you can rely on those for examples, because you can rely on those experiences to give you examples of what you would do in a situation that you may not have encountered that exact situation before, but you dealt with something similar enough that you're able to answer that question well. So if you're in university, a lot of times your school will offer mock interviews, so definitely look at your career center or counseling center at your school to see if they offer free resources such as interviewing prep. The universities that I've attended, they've all offered that, so I'm pretty sure most others do in that case. So definitely take advantage of that, because they'll help you prepare. Again, using career centers at your university, I've used them many times to just revise my resume over the years. And now as I'm in vet school, where CVs are coming into question and saying like, oh, maybe you should start working on that, I've met with a career advisor about like twice now about it, just to get a good idea. And even if you aren't really prepared to do a resume or do a CV yet, they can give you guidelines, like whenever you're ready, you aren't starting from scratch. You have something to help you. You have some momentum to build off of. So definitely use those resources at your disposal. And a lot of times, if you are a student, it's free. Even if you graduated, again, with the universities that I've attended, most, if not all of them, alumni, after 2 years, you're still able to use their career services free. So definitely look into that and see what your school offers, and see what kind of interview prep and job prep that they can help you with. So once you have a strong resume, whether you have peers or mentors that are able to look over it for you, or you go to your university so that the university can look over it for you, then a good next step is for that interview prep, which again, your university might help you, or people around you who are well versed in interviewing or know what type of questions that might be asked from that company. I will say for interviews, almost always, I want to say over 75% of the interviews that I've had thus far, they have asked about dealing with challenges or conflicts that might come up in a workplace. Now, this might be with like guests that you might deal with, or with your team members. So for me, both with the different roles I've done, but I feel like more so they are interested in how you work in a team and those team dynamics, and knowing that yes, you're able to be independent and make good decisions. You're not always going to management for things, but you know when to refer up, and you know how to report and things like that. So just make sure that you are comfortable working in a team, that you're comfortable with delegation, and that you're okay with like mediation, different things like that, or at least get some practice with it, so that whenever those questions do come up, you know how to gauge the situation and you know how to answer that question in the best way possible. And another thing that helps whenever you are preparing for an interview, a lot of the companies that you want to work for, they have information sessions. So even if you are kind of aware of what the role entails, which I'm thinking back to my Wilderness Explorer role, I didn't go to that first information session because I was like, I think I got it. I think I understand. No. Literally after that phone interview that I pretty much bombed, they were like, go to the next information session and learn, and do better with the next round of interviews. And I was like, okay, we'll do. So any information session that is held, which is usually like via Zoom, there's usually like webinars, which is usually via Zoom, there's usually webinars and things like that. Take advantage of that. Even if you know the company forwards and backwards. One, put your face out there. It's really good to like for people to connect name with a face, and so they're like, oh, this person's really determined because I remember you, because you're really interested in this role. And two, just for networking opportunities, and it doesn't hurt. If it doesn't hurt, and if you're able to do it, just take advantage of it, because it's really like, why not? It's only benefiting you to get more information and get as much information as you can whenever you're applying for a role. So with interviewing as well, the number of people that are interviewing you will change based on like what you're applying for. I've had one interviewer, and the most I think I've had in one room was about 6 at a time. And so they'll like take turns like asking you questions, so you're like, okay, all right. Again, being confident, having a posture of confidence, and having that confidence in your voice and your demeanor and things like that, and just knowing that whatever question is going to be asked of me, that I'm going to do my best to respond, and if I'm doing my best, that's all I can do, and I'm okay with that. So having that mentality going in definitely helps. But it is, even then, whenever you do prep, it still gets nerve-wracking. Like I still, like my mouth gets dry before I do interviews still, and I'm like, I've been doing this for years, and things like that. And I don't want to say I'm relatively comfortable being interviewed, but still, it's a natural response to feel some kind of nerves, especially if the stakes are high, right? So just know that it's normal, but working through it is really the key to mitigate that. Now, whenever I say that, I don't mean like just like rapid fire responses and things like that. Using those nerves to help you calm down. So for me, whenever I know what I want to say, and whenever I'm really excited, I feel like that really comes out whenever I'm interviewing, because I kind of sound like an auctioneer. I'm like, oh, I know the answer to this question, blah, 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 blah. That's, even though I know what I'm saying, even though I'm confident in what I'm saying, it still might come across as someone who, I don't know, it's like really antsy, right? If you kind of just like blurt out a response immediately. So it's okay to take your time and think about a question. It is okay to do that. It is okay to ask for clarification. It is okay whenever you're answering a question and it's like multiple parts to the question, to ask for them to repeat the question again. Do not feel like they'll view you as lesser than for asking for clarification, for taking a moment to get your thoughts together, or asking them to repeat a question. They'll probably appreciate that you're taking your time and you want well thought out responses. Again, you don't want to take forever. Like, you don't want to take 2 minutes to answer a question that will probably take like only like a minute and a half to answer. But it's okay to pause and just, this is what I'll do. That kind of thing. That is more than okay. I've seen it be advised that you can also write down questions whenever you're in an interview. I tried that once early on, and personally it didn't work for me. And I'm not sure who I got that information from. Might have just been some random person online. But they're like, yeah, if you're asking a question, you can write down the questions and refer back to your notes to look at it. Which I for my vet school interview, actually, that was something that they said that we could do as well. So that's 2 different instances. First, whenever I first started off interviewing with a group interview, I remember I wrote it down, but personally I wasn't comfortable with that. And I forgot who recommended it to me then, but for later on, like a few years down the line, for my vet school interviews, they're like, if you need to write down the questions before you answer this prompt, that's okay. So I get the sense that it is all right. Again, however, it's not for me. So like, I can't really like say, oh yeah, do this, and like it'll get you like points, and I'll be like, oh yeah, she's really determined. Like, I can't say that, and I can't say that it won't do that either. I've definitely seen it out there. I just know whenever I try to implement it, I think it made me, I was already nervous for that interview because, again, I was first starting off. So I feel like it made me look less secure in what I wanted to say, and more anxious, that I was kind of just like referring back to the question, and then looking at the people interviewing me, and then like looking again and be like, okay, and you said this too, all right, and then like that. I probably just didn't execute it well as well. So to each your own with that. Definitely, if you do have like a resume coach or like a mentor that is helping you through, ask for their input on that. If you're that type of person who would prefer to write down the questions so that you can refer to it while you're answering it to make sure you answered all parts. But yeah, personally, I'm just a proponent of, if I need to remember what was asked of me, to just ask them to repeat the question. But to each their own, in regard to writing down the questions versus just asking the interviewer to repeat what was said. So for interviewing, how to dress, I know for me, my default is business casual. So even if I'm meeting up with friends, that's how I prefer to dress, business casual. So for interviewing, it's not really something that I think about too much, because I feel like it fits that, but just something that's is advisable. Whatever company, organization that you're interviewing for, know what the employee baseline wardrobe is, and then do a level up from there. So like if their dress is casual, you dress business casual. If their usual dress is business casual, you dress like professionally. And just one level up is what I've seen be kind of reiterated quite a few times over the years, and it's something that I do by default. And whenever I do need to get a little dressier, I do that, but it's worked well. And also, like, dressing well helps you feel more confident too, which definitely helps me just in general. So putting your best foot forward in every way, resume prep, interviewing prep, and how you present yourself will go lengths. And also people interviewing you will see that as well. So I feel like it will just only reflect more positively on you if you put your best foot forward holistically. So in regard to references for positions, definitely ask the people. It's usually 3. Definitely ask those people to see if it's okay, for 1, and 2, let them know and just give them a heads up. Hey, you might be contacted by so-and-so for this role. And give them an ample heads up as well. Even if you're sure that they'll vouch for you, a random call, oh yeah, they'll go to bat for you. It doesn't hurt to at least give them prep into like what exactly you're applying for, so that they can attest to those specific skills that they know about you to the company, and they can do that well. I've definitely made that mistake before. I was like, okay, I know these people have vouched for me, and I put their numbers down, and they sure did. But afterward, they're like, but I would have appreciated a heads up, because I really wasn't expecting this phone call from these people. It was kind of random. So ever since, I'm like, okay, gotcha. So even if it's like a shoe-in, of course these people will vouch for me, I still give them a heads up, and I feel like that's just common courtesy that I realized. So definitely those references, let them know what you're applying for, let them know about the timeline that they might be contacted, and go from there for the references. But yes, you want people who can vouch for you, who know you very well. Again, depending on the position, that changes who you will reach out to. The references might just be friends, there might be people that you worked with, might be professors. It depends on like what school, what role, what position, whatever the case may be that you're applying for, based on like who you reach out to. But you want people who know you personally, or at least know your work ethic personally. So in summary, just put your best foot forward, do all that you can to prepare. Use the resources at your disposal. So if you're a university student, that's way easy. I did not realize how easy it was whenever I was in undergrad. I didn't realize it until I was in graduate school, and now vet school, where I was like, oh wow, there are a lot. Even headshots at your school can be free. Again, most of my schools, they have times that you can go get headshots, or for where I am now at Virginia Tech, it's so easy to schedule an appointment, and it's pretty much just like walk in, you can take headshots. And I've done that like 2 or 3 times already. So very easy to do, and take advantage of those resources at your disposal. If you aren't sure, just look on your university's career website to see what resources that they give to students and alumni, and go from there. But definitely take advantage of it while you can, while you're in school. And even again, after you graduate, there might be a certain amount of time, usually 2 years, that you can still use resources. Still use them. It's good. Yeah. Hopefully that was helpful. Best luck when you're interviewing.